Hey guys, and welcome to another Patreon exclusive video with myself, Jim, Denver Dave, Punk Raider. We're here to do some extra talking about the NFL, and the 2022 Hall of Fame finalists have just been announced. So we thought we'd put on our commissioner hats and decide who we would put in from that final list. So I've got my list over here, Punk's got his list over there, and Dave's got his list over there. So we're going to chat through the ones that we would definitely put in, and then maybe argue about the ones that we can't get consensus on. So boys, looking at this list, I'm going to suggest that Reggie Wayne is a lock for this Hall of Fame class. Wide receiver for the Colts mostly. From 2001 to 2014, 13 years right at the top of the game, playing there with Peyton Manning. And an example on the field as well for the youngsters.
I'd agree with Reggie Wayne. I think he was instrumental in that amazing Colts Manning decade. Edge James to a degree as well, but Edge is already Harrison. So Harrison as well. But I think, to me, looking at this list, I think Reggie Wayne is the standout number one. Yeah, lock him, put him in the Hall of Fame, deserves to be there. Teaming back up with Peyton Manning, who went in last year. Was it last year, Peyton Manning, or year before? Yeah,
last year.
It feels right. Feels right.
I think looking at his stats, 6-time Pro Bowler. I mean, this is quite a lot. First team All Pro, Super Bowl champion, twice second team All Pro, and NFL receiving yards leader in 2007. 14,000 receiving yards. Some impressive stats going on there. First round pick out of Florida.
Yeah, and it was just his attitude on the field as well. He was a consummate professional, and near the end of his career as well, he was helping the younger receivers coming through with technique. So
you mentioned he only played for the Colts. He played for the Patriots. He signed a 1-year deal with the Patriots, but he was granted a request to leave the Patriots because after signing with them, he decided he didn't want to be there and wanted to basically retire. And that was it. He retired having never played a game for him. It was basically on practice squad. And he said, when you're done, when you know you're done, you're done.
It's a bit like Jerry Rice in Seattle.
Yeah,
I think Jerry Rice's last place was the Broncos, and that he tried out and was basically told, look, you can't do it anymore. You're 41 or whatever it was, and you just can't do it, I'm afraid.
Reggie Wayne definitely in. Congratulations, Hall of Fame.
One down. We're picking six
one down.
Today. We're picking.
We're going to choose 6. You can choose between 4 and 8. We'll go in, but we'll go with 6 if we can all decide on 6.
Because there's usually a head coach or a broadcaster or someone that goes in. I think Dick Vermeil is the head coach. They're looking to put in Art McNally as a contributor, and also Cliff Branch of Modern Era finalists. So we're leaving some of these spots open. So we're going for 6. One of them has been taken by us, by Reggie Wayne. From us, next up, someone I think is going to get much pushback from you two is Devin Hester, the kick/punt returner for the Chicago Bears. Also played for the Falcons,
receiver
the Ravens,
cornerback
one of the most deadly weapons of his time. Only a fool would kick straight down the field. Yet they kept aiming at him, and he kept punishing them for it. So
there has never been a player since Devin Hester like Devin Hester, and there was never a player before Devin Hester that was like Devin Hester. He really is that mold of a completely unique guy that had a unique skill set. And still to this day, I don't know why punters and kickers ever kick the ball to him. Just kick it out of bounds and take the penalty. Why would you do it? Why would you do it? It's absolutely nuts. But
you know why? I can tell you exactly why. Because there's no psycho in the world like that of a special teams coordinator, and they all think that they're head coaches. They all think they're head coaches when they're not. They're psychopaths. That's why they're like, yeah, give it to him and we'll prove he's nothing. And before you know it, he's got 4 touchdowns against you and you're thinking, oh, just fucking kick it out of bounds, or you're squib kick it. I don't care to get away from him. Looking at his stats again, out of Miami, so it could be 2 Miami wide receivers in there. Drafted in the second round by the Bears, 3-time first team All Pro, and 1-time second team All Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Special Teams Player of the Year. Goes on to what you said, and was part of the All Decade team in 2000s and 2010s, and is voted in as the 100 greatest Bears of all time. So yeah, it does say something. 14 punt return touchdowns and 20 total 6 kick return touchdowns for one season, 20 in total. I mean, it's mental. It's absolutely insane.
One of 6 offensive Bears players in the top 100 Bears players of all time.
Yeah, that says a lot about the Bears, doesn't it? There's only 6 in the top 100.
I just made that up, but it could be true, couldn't it, Dave?
I believed you. You know what? If you understand it, I totally bought that. I mean, there's a good chance if they were voting their top 20, if they were voting their top 20 offensive players, a good chance that Justin Fields might get in. That's not even a joke, already.
Yep. Okay, so we've got 2 that I think were locked in there. Any complaints on those 2 guys?
No complaints at all.
Excellent. Okay. Now I'm going to throw in someone that had a relatively short career in the NFL, just 7 years, but those 7 were pretty impactful, and that is Patrick Willis, linebacker from the 49ers. In a team of a very good defensive stars, he was the captain. He was the Luke Kuechly, just before Luke Kuechly, of middle linebackers that just scared the hell out of everyone. He could crush runs, he could flatten quarterbacks, but he also had the coverage skills as well to drop back and punish you as well.
He was sideline to
immensely
sideline.
Impressed by Patrick Willis.
He covered everything. Him and Ray Lewis are probably the 2 modern era linebackers more than any others that I think are, A1, top grade, the best of the best. I completely understand why he retired early. He was one of the first ones, I'd say, of that kind of, we now understand CTE a bit more and so on and so forth, that decided, actually, you know what, I've done 7 years, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could have gone on and had a Ray Lewis type career, to be honest, if he'd wanted it. But I still think his body of work is good enough that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame at the first attempt. Phenomenal player, phenomenal linebacker. And so, it says a lot when Mike Singletary's your coach and is kind of giving you kudos for being, one of the best linebackers he's ever seen. I mean, that guy knows linebackers,
Yeah, in his 7-year career, or technically 6.5-year career, because he missed half of his final year, 950 tackles, 732 of which were solo tackles. I mean, it's not a surprise he ended early and just went, you know what, I've done enough. I'm perfectly happy I've done enough. He's 5-time All-Pro in 7 years, first team All-Pro. It's only 1 year, and that was his final year, where he didn't feature in an All-Pro team first or second year. 7 Pro Bowls out of 7 years. It's ridiculous numbers. It says he finally retired because of a toe injury that he just couldn't shift. But I mean, at that point, you've probably achieved everything you want to achieve other than a Super Bowl, really. But yeah, even on paper, before you even see him, you look at him going, one of a great. It has to go in, surely.
Oh, he's an absolutely phenomenal linebacker, and he had hands as well. He could catch a ball. He had ball skills.
Yeah, truly dangerous right in the middle of the field. And the speed, like you said, Punk, to get sideline to sideline. You just never saw anything go past him. If it was running, it wouldn't go past where he was on the field. And if it had to be a massive bomb 20 yards over him to have a chance. So yeah, absolute monster. So
quick question. Cool. Did he retire before that 49ers Ravens Super Bowl? Or was he there for that? I can't remember.
He retired in 2014, never played in a Super Bowl.
No.
So it would have
Never
been,
played. So when was the
no, he
Ravens?
did play for it. That was 2012, so he did play for it. Yeah.
He did play in that one. He did.
Yep. 2
Okay.
forced fumbles and 2 interceptions, 9 passes defended.
There you go.
What, in the Super Bowl?
In the Super Bowl.
Willis recorded 10 combined tackles in the 49ers Super Bowl, lost to the Ravens at a score 31-0. 29 combined tackles in the postseason. 29 tackles in the postseason.
Yeah.
Sickening.
Yeah.
Sickening. What I do for
Even
a
worse, they
linebacker
lost
like
that
him.
game. That's even more sickening.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to have a bit of a tete-a-tete because we've got a couple of defensive end legends, or at least recent legends anyway, in DeMarcus Ware, the former Dallas Cowboy, and then at the very end, he spent a couple of years just getting a ring with the Broncos, and Jared Allen, the long-time Minnesota Viking. He started off with the Chiefs, but really found his feet with the Vikings, and a couple of years bounced around with the Bears and then the Panthers before calling it a day. But I think for both of them, what stands out is their productivity didn't really dip. Their experience grew and they managed to kind of evolve their game as outside linebackers as they went on. And they were still immensely dangerous all the way through their career. It's great that DeMarcus Ware got the ring that he deserved. Bit of a shame that Jared Allen didn't get a ring, but I don't think it takes anything away from his Hall of Fame ballot push.
Yeah,
No,
I don't care what you say. DeMarcus Ware's a Bronco. You can
Not a
spend
Bronco.
10 years painting bridges. If you then go and paint 3 versions of the Mona Lisa or masterpieces, it makes you an artist. It doesn't make you a bridge builder.
Is Darrell Revis a Patriot?
Yes. There you go. That's what you wanted to hear. He went to the Broncos and completely changed the defensive line into what are one of the most underrated defensive units in the past 15 years.
Underrated?
Well,
they were very much
not
rated.
Underrated. I mean,
they were so rated.
Okay,
even Peyton Manning knows that he wouldn't have got that second
agree.
Super Bowl without them.
I agree.
You know.
But whenever you hear anyone in the media talking about great defenses, it's so rare that they mention the 16 or 15 Broncos. Like genuinely so rare, because everyone goes back to the Bears, and was it 82, 83, something like that. Yeah, everyone goes to the Ravens teams. Yeah, there's lots and lots of teams. It's very rare that the Broncos are mentioned as being one of those pinnacle teams, but ultimately it was a defense that won a Super Bowl. It is too recent. That's part of the issue. That's part of the issue. That's part of the reason why people don't mention them as being this great defensive team. But they were.
And maybe because it was only for one season, and then it all fell apart because DeMarcus Ware retired.
It was 2 seasons. The Broncos had a couple of years, and they got to the Super Bowl and absolutely flunked it against the Seahawks. And then didn't go the following season. Did the one after that. So it was that sort of 2 or 3 year period.
Yeah, but the defense wasn't good. That was the whole point of you losing the first Super Bowl. It was your offense that was the thing.
Offense was good. Defense was still fine, and it was DeMarcus Ware coming in then and Keep to league actually learning to play cornerback properly, but he was that missing jigsaw piece.
He was one of the pieces that definitely helped. Yes, changed the mentality on the Broncos from offense to defense. I think we can only really pick one of them though.
One of the things that you can actually compare the two for is that they were both. Dave will call them outside linebacker, but they were both defensive ends that just never took a play off. Every single play they were 100 mile an hour. Marcus Ware's one of the fastest linemen to have ever played the game. He was in the backfield when he was playing for the Cowboys. He was in the backfield before the quarterback could even turn around and hand it off half the time. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. I do think Jared Allen loses a couple of points because he went from the Vikings immediately to the Bears. So, that to me, in division, bit of a rival. I'm not sure that's allowable in a Hall of Famer. But
Brett Favre's in there.
At the end of the day, I wouldn't argue with either one of these going in, if not both.
I think both go in. I mean, you got 4 first-team All-Pros for DeMarcus Ware, 9 Pro Bowls, twice was the sack leader. He's in an All-Decade team as well. Everything about on and off paper, tell you this guy is a Hall of Famer. It completely was. And DeMarcus Ware was also good in coverage. So he was a linebacker. The only reason we call him a linebacker is because he was playing in a 3-4. Jared Allen is listed as a defensive end. I'm assuming he was playing in a 4-3, and that's why he's listed as a defensive end. It's just system. But DeMarcus Ware was very good in coverage, much better than Von Miller. And that's not me slagging off Von Miller. Von Miller's weakness has always been in coverage, and DeMarcus Ware was brilliant in coverage. So he was a genuine outside linebacker.
In that case, then, with Jared Allen not being so much of a coverage guy, but being mad against the run and just being a sack machine, does that elevate Ware above Allen to the point that we put Ware in and don't put Allen?
No, both.
You think both going?
Reggie Wayne is a wide receiver. Devin Hester is a kick returner, wide receiver. Both go in.
He never made it as a wide receiver. Devin Hester.
There's no reason.
Devin Hester's not going in as a receiver. No, he's going in as a
listen. I'm making an argument that I don't entirely believe. So right, just stay with me. But I see no reason why. They're two very different players who are, to a certain degree, non-comparable. You have one as a pass rusher and one as an outside linebacker, and they were. Could DeMarcus Ware play in a 3-4, in a 4-3?
Yeah,
maybe.
He did in Dallas.
Yeah.
Not
the forgotten years for Dave. Like the reason he didn't put more coverage for you is because he was older, and so he couldn't rush the passer every time. So he decided to drop back a little bit.
It's harder when
that's when he was taking the play off.
Exactly.
It's harder when you're older playing in coverage than it is when you're passing.
It's like you just sit in your little zone and be done with it, don't you?
Behave. I'd say put both.
All right.
I genuinely would.
All right, stick both of them. Stick them both in as
one.
We're
only having one. Only having one.
No, we're only having one.
No, we're not.
If we're only having one, my vote goes to DeMarcus Ware.
I vote Jared Allen.
I vote DeMarcus Ware.
I'm joking.
But that's just because I preferred DeMarcus Ware as a player to Jared Allen. He had more strings to his bow. He could do more. You could do more with him. He's more versatile.
Yeah.
You think Jared Allen was more versatile?
No, I think DeMarcus Ware was more versatile.
Okay. All right, I'll go with DeMarcus Ware as well then. All right. Jared Allen can wait.
That's 3.
Yes, that's 3.
4.
4.
That's 4. We're on 4.
So only 2
I'm
left.
amazed we've agreed on 4, to be honest. 2 left. Who are we going with?
How about Zach Thomas?
This is where it gets tricky.
Zach Thomas was a linebacker for a long time for the Dolphins and then finished off with the Cowboys. Any
Zach Thomas was okay. So Zach Thomas was one of those. He was never as the quickest.
No,
he was durable.
Mm.
The problem is he played on very bad Dolphins teams. None of those teams
was the better player on the team.
So the problem was he was very much like Brian Urlacher was at the Bears, in that it was kind of him and nothing on the defense, but he was good enough to kind of keep them in games and so on and so forth. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of Zach Thomas.
All right.
Don't ask me why. I never took to him the way I took to a Patrick Willis or a Ray Lewis or someone like that. And it's not just because he wasn't that creme de la creme of a player in his position, because he was very, very good. He just always, to me.
So I was going to say 7 times All Pro, 7 times Pro Bowl, and Defensive Rookie of the Year as well.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's not that he's not good. It's just that for me personally, I don't think he's that good. I think he got to a lot of Pro Bowls because his name was Zach Thomas, rather than the actual play that he had. Now, I mean, if you're looking at stats and can tell me wrong, then go for it. But
don't besmirch the good name of the Pro Bowl. Only the best players get into every year.
Of course, it's never a name, is it?
No.
I want to ask a question, Jim. So Patrick Willis, middle linebacker, and you're quite happy to put him in, and Zach Thomas, who are both middle linebackers. But you don't want to put in DeMarcus Ware and Jared Allen.
No,
you make me sick. All right, what about a Raider then? For 3 years,
Richard Seymour.
Yeah.
No.
Well, again, we're going defensive end tackle, aren't we? I mean,
Centre.
how many?
Rush from the centre.
Richard
Any mercenary?
Seymour. Richard
Super Bowl
Seymour,
wins.
3 Super Bowls at the
Yeah, with the
Patriots.
Patriots.
7 Pro Bowls. Hey, they all count. They still count.
For
You know,
me,
you don't look at
personally, I don't think he's the best in this one, so I'm going to say no. I mean, I'm not saying he's not good.
I would agree with this in that if we were going to put another defensive end in, I'd actually put Bryant Young in, the old 49ers defensive end. Although he only won
the
the
49ers,
one.
isn't it? We discovered this a few weeks ago, and now
Discussed this.
been right out of the woodwork.
It's not so much the love for the 49ers, but Bryant Young
All
was
their
on
players.
It is.
that on that defense. He was just a sack machine. You know what I mean? He did just literally would eat quarterbacks and running backs. All right. How about we move to a different position instead? Let's talk about Rondé Barber. Is Tiki in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I can't remember.
I was getting mixed up. So
Tiki's the running back. Rondé was the cornerback.
We know
for
that.
the Buccaneers.
yeah.
Well, he didn't. He just said he kept getting muddled up. So.
I know what they were. I'm just saying, interchangeable in terms of career, in terms of like success rate.
The thing is, if someone says to you Rondé Barber, you go, yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player.
And a brother called Tiki.
That's it. It's not like, he was phenomenal. He was a game wrecker. He was a good player.
I agree. He wasn't Derek Brooks on that Buccaneers team, but or Warren Sapp, but he kind of was the leader of that defensive backfield. I don't know whether Dave, can you get his stats up and tell us how many Pro Bowls and stuff?
So
because it'll be a lot. I mean, he had a 15-year career.
So 10 years where he didn't make the Pro Bowl. Three times first team All Pro, twice second All Pro, 1 Super Bowl, and was the co-leader in interceptions in 2001. And more importantly, the Virginia Cavaliers retired his number 19 jersey. Yeah, stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
That's tipped it for me. If the Cavaliers have been able to retire a jersey, then he's special. Those old tricky Cavs. I don't know. It just feels a bit. I don't know.
I mean, he's no Charles Woodson. Don't get me wrong. You know,
no,
he's not even remotely in the ballpark of Charles Woodson.
Hall of Fame.
If we're
Fame.
I'm just saying, if we're arguing over all these defensive ends and stuff going in, then let's talk about a different position.
Okay, we've talked about it. He's the only defensive back.
So we're not having that.
Is he really the only defensive back?
I think he's going to get it because of that.
Yeah,
he'll get it then. He'll get it because of that.
Him and I mean, you could argue Hester, but he is the only DB that's in the list. Everyone else is elsewhere.
There's a safety.
There's a lot of linebackers and defensive ends this year.
As well. I know nothing of Roy Butler.
Roy Butler is the Robin,
safety.
The Robin to Charles Woodson's Batman, basically.
I'm not.
We're not in the Robin business. We're in the Batman business.
I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Roy Butler was good, but I'm not sure I'd have him.
Let's not forget that somewhere secretly there's the bloke who made Michelangelo's brushes, and he probably was as much a craftsman as Michelangelo and deserves. He deserves recognition for that ceiling as much as anything. Without him, he'd just been doing Artex rolling. It wouldn't have been anything nice.
There is a guy in this list that is the first year of eligibility, and that is Andre Johnson, the wide receiver from the Texans.
Another wide receiver.
But we've got to talk about.
There are so many receivers that need to go in, though.
11 years for the Texans, and then he played for the Colts, and then the Titans a little bit.
I think that's the problem. He stayed at the Texans so long.
He did.
With David Carr. It almost hurt his career because what he should have done is left after 5 or 6 years and gone to a team that had a quarterback.
Yeah.
Andre Johnson was, him and Megatron for a number of years were, I would say, the top 2 receivers in the league. I mean, Megatron went in last year. Is it disrespectful not to put Johnson in this year? Might be.
He had a longer career.
I don't know.
From Megatron.
Well,
he did have a longer career.
A couple of stats. So there's one season in the middle of 2011. I'm going to ignore because he only played 7 games. But these were his number of yards from 2008 onwards: 1,575, 1,569, 1,216. Then there was the injury season. Then 1,598. Then 1,407. I mean, these are some beastly numbers.
Yeah.
After that, he dropped off. He dropped off a little bit and only got 936.
Yeah, only, yeah. It's going to be difficult to keep him out just because of the career he had, despite the dirge of quarterbacks thrown his way, like Matt Shaw.
He's got as many
made them look
receiving
great.
yards as Reggie Wayne. As many receiving yards, 14,100.
Do you know what? I'll do it. I'll put Andre Johnson in there.
All right. I can't say no to him either. I remember him. He was epic as a player. That's what you want.
Not many touchdowns though. Not many touchdowns. He wasn't a touchdown machine.
Texans in general.
No, but again, that's kind of the problem he had
Bit of
with
a Julio
team.
Jones. Yeah, a bit
They
of
were
a Julio
using-
Jones.
They were using Arian Foster as well, was their main weapon.
Yeah.
So because they were so bad at throwing it, they didn't throw it very often. Andre Johnson had to work on scraps.
Think of it this way: imagine if Andre Johnson was paired with Peyton Manning. Imagine if that had been a nice little pairing.
So,
That's why he should have moved.
If you can say that Reggie Wayne and Andre Johnson got similar stats when Reggie Wayne had Peyton Manning throwing to him and Andre Johnson had David Carr and a bunch of nobodies that I can think of throwing to him,
the interception artist.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Then to me that says Andre Johnson stayed at the Texans far too long and should have gone somewhere else, and B, what would his numbers have been if he had? So yeah, I think Andre Johnson goes in.
How many have we got?
Let's not create a log jam.
That's 5 at the moment. I want to put one name out there, not a name I'm familiar with, but on the fly I've just been doing a bit of research, and that's Sam Mills, linebacker, predominantly for the Saints. So
he was the pre-Patrick Willis, to be honest. The problem was, again, he was playing on a god-awful team. So the Saints back then were the Aints. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they were dreadful. I don't remember. I mean, I do remember him because I remember people talking about him. Every time you're watching something like football or something, John Madden would go nuts about Sam Mills. He was just one of those tough old school linebackers.
A bit of his story: he was undrafted out of Montclair State, that football Goliath.
Undrafted? Wow.
Undrafted. I know.
All the scouts have been down there.
This would have been in 1981 when they've had like 26 rounds and stuff like that. Then went to the Browns on the practice squad, then went to the Toronto Argonauts on the practice squad, and then ended up signing for the Philadelphia and Baltimore Stars. Then made his break into the NFL. Went into the NFL, became what can only be described as a Goliath, 5 Pro Bowls. He was first team All-Pro, only one, second team All-Pro twice. He was 3 times USFL All-Star as well. And he was USFL champion twice as well, and made an all-star team there. Panthers have retired his number, and he's in the Carolina Panthers Hall of Fame. New Orleans Saints put him in the Hall of Fame and the Ring of Fame as well, Ring of Honor as well. The reason I mention him is he passed away in 2005, so this is a posthumous honor.
They love them.
They do love them, and also he was a Carolina Panthers coach between 1998 and 2004, when he was defensive assistant, linebacker coach, and from what I'm reading, was on a fast track to becoming head coach pretty quickly as well, but died of cancer in 2005 at the age of only 45, which when we come into our point in life, lads, where that's not particularly that far away. So yeah, put him out there as a potential candidate.
I don't mind doing that. I'm looking at the others. I'm not putting a tackle in, not this year.
I remember. I do remember. You don't want Baselli in there. Tony Baselli was just an absolute evil beast of an offensive lineman.
I mean, but the thing is, The thing is, right, I've just given a nice little introduction to Sam Mills, and you're like, yeah, put him in there. I don't want to tackle him. It's like, come on.
You know what I mean?
Where's the humanity?
Sam Mills played in an era when middle linebackers were
When men were men.
Exactly, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we're talking about all the oh hello, he's gone thug life.
I'm not putting in no tackle.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
You're not putting in to say, all right, let's drop the Sally. Sam Mills is in. There you go. I'm not even going to bother. Sam Mills is in.
All right, so we've got 6.
Let's just go all defensive.
Did it.
Is that 6?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we got Reggie Wayne and Andre Johnson in there. Anyway,
Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, Devin Hester,
Patrick Willis.
We managed to get posthumous and a special
Sam
team.
Mills.
There you
Okay,
go.
that's pretty good. I'll tell you what, Torrey Holt's got to be getting annoyed now.
Oh well.
He's you know, I don't know. Is he ever going to get in? Not sure.
No,
not sure he will.
That's another video done, guys. Yeah, we're all done. So thanks very much for watching.
Bang bang.